Hello everyone, welcome back to FPL Fran. Today's video is going to be my team selection for Game Week 36, and of course we just want to review very quickly Game Week 35 as it stands. Of course, Chelsea versus Tottenham has not played yet. I think the average amount of players that the field have, for example, within the top 10k, I believe is around 4 players, which is normal. It's what I have as well, but that's after the massive hits that I've taken. Now, what's fortunate for me, of course, is because of the heroics of Guardiola and Saka, I am in the lucky position, I suppose, of saying that I've taken a minus 16 and my rank shouldn't really suffer too much tomorrow. So I'm very happy about that, considering I had to also bench Gusto, and Foden, of course, was ill. So it didn't really feel like one of the hits paid off there, but Haaland at least came off the bench and scored and did well for our FPL team for once in a long while for Erling Haaland, which is a shock to say, but it is what it is. He looks good though, and of course it's a promising sign going forwards, considering he'll be a huge asset for us as we move on. Now, quickly talking about Game Week 35, as I said, we were saved by the heroics of Guardiola and Saka, but I think the idea, of course, is the hits that I've done is to take out players from Liverpool, for example, a team that I generally am seeing a huge downtrend in performance, not specifically just within the Liverpool team overall, but also specifically within Salah, right? He was someone who was a cash cow, either him or Saka, and I took it as an opportunity, even though I thought Saka had a tougher fixture, to keep Saka in my team. And as I said, within my team selection, giving me 35, I was expecting to do a minus 12. However, close to the deadline, we also got news, of course, and I wasn't very sure about my bench, right? Going back to even last week, for example, when I had an awful team in Game Week 34 and I had Pau auto subbing because Haaland couldn't play, Palmer couldn't play, I just didn't want to put myself in that position again, and I really wanted to strengthen my bench, which is why I actually went through Anthony Gordon as one of my hits, and I'm very fortunate, of course, to have it had paid off, and that does give me a bench dilemma for Game Week 36, but we'll talk about it in a moment. The reason, though, that I did that Gordon hit is, as I said, just to strengthen my team, and I'm very happy about that. So once again, very fortunate to have done that move, because ultimately, when you look at, for example, the state of my team, if I didn't do that move, very likely that, for example, I would have probably just kept Luis Diaz in my team, but it wouldn't look so good in terms of how my team is set up for Game Week 36 or even 37 anyways, because I wasn't very high on Liverpool. So because of that, of course, I'm happy to have taken the hit for Foden regardless. So those are my thoughts. In terms of Chelsea and Tottenham, I think that, of course, it's Chelsea at home. Chelsea have been a brilliant team recently. Not necessarily taking their chances over the course of the season. Let's be realistic. Jackson is and has been quite a negative finisher. But I think a lot of the community's sentiment towards Jackson, I think, are a little bit overblown, right? This is a player who still, without penalties, has scored 10 goals this season. Now, I also realize that a lot of those goals were scored when Tottenham effectively had 1 or 2 men down. So you can maybe say that, of course, that's skewed. But I still think that Jackson played a very, very good game versus Aston Villa, surprisingly. One great chance in terms of the post coming from a Cucurella cross, and then second, of course, the offside goal, the disallowed goal, but really well taken chance by Jackson, and he was effectively just an arm offside. So it was a good game from Jackson, and it just shows you, of course, he will consistently get chances even in tougher fixtures, and Aston Villa away is what we saw as a tougher fixture. Now, I'm not saying he's going to absolutely haul versus Tottenham, but I will be going live to watch this game, so I'll be excited to see at least Palmer captaincy for the first time, or Jackson live, maybe missing a lot of chances and making me sad, but at least he'll get the appearance points. And what's nice too is Solanke, who went out of my team, blanked, and he's got Arsenal in away next week, so Jackson is quite nice as a pick going forwards. Vicario, of course, it wasn't exactly a great hit, but I think in hindsight, as I mentioned, I thought Neto's position within this Bournemouth team was very precarious, and I'm not surprised at all to see Travers play again. Bournemouth have now kept 2 clean sheets and 2 with Travers in. I'm not saying he's the main reason for that, but it already shows that the decision, I think, process-wise is good, because at least Vicario is going to be a Game Week 37, 38 goalkeeper, and of course with Flecken, we get to play him next game week, but he still needs to go as well, probably, if I can afford to go for another goalkeeper, if I don't have any other major issues within my team. So I kind of like the move. I hope Vicario can make a little bit more saves than he did versus Arsenal. I think Arsenal, that game, the amount of goals that Arsenal scored, if you look at the expected goals, a little bit fortunate. Even if you look at the chances, of course, 2 set-piece goals, and then really Saka taking a brilliant chance, really, from a great Havertz long ball. So I'm hoping, of course, Chelsea will spam a couple more shots for Vicario to save. Hopefully he redeems himself a little bit, and a little bit of the hit is recouped. But of course, the hit for Vicario was just to at least have 2 chances at the lottery this game week, and then, of course, as I said, on 37 as well. Same logic there when he's going to be part of the bench boost. So that's it for Game Week 35. A good week so far, which sees me having around, I believe, 71 points so far. And of course, when you take the hits into account, that lands me within the territory of having 55 right now. So a good spot to be in. I'm very happy about it. And let's go on towards our Game Week 36 team selection. So for Game Week 36 this week, we love our home fixtures on this channel. And the beauty of this team selection for this week is that we have a ton of players at home, right? The entire defense is going to be at home. And starting with the defense here, we've got Flecken here. Flecken gets to play Fulham at home. Fulham have been quite a strong sort of away and home team, I think, particularly on defense and on offense as well. So when we look at Flecken here, good opportunity for Brentford to do well. It's a home game. It's also a chance where ultimately, I think I have a goalkeeping differential. A lot of people right now are invested into the Petrovic's of the world, and he'll probably play for a lot of managers, seeing that there's a little bit of doubt around Ederson, who I think most likely won't feature in Game Week 36. On top of that, you've got other keepers that a lot of people have kept on that are not playing. For example, Neto is not playing this week. So I think I'm in a good spot. Obviously, people with, let's say, Pickford in goal are going to probably enjoy this chance as well. It's Luton away. I mean, it's a pretty tough game in the sense that Luton, out of all the promoted teams, have proven to be a very consistent attacking team, as opposed to, let's say, your Burnleys and Sheffield Uniteds of the world who have been shocking on offense. So that's nice. And as I said, Flecken, I think, is a very interesting differential goalkeeper for this week. Moving on to the rest of my defense, though, I get to play Saliba, Gabriel, and Guardiola. So I don't have the ace in the hole that is Ben White, but I do have my own sort of fullback attacking pick in terms of Guardiola. He's just been in incredible positions recently. I wouldn't say, of course, that Guardiola is the default best City defensive option. I can easily admit that I've been a bit fortunate with Guardiola. Somehow he's learned to take shots with his right foot, score finesses. He's also been incredible on set pieces. Someone from his size and his frame to score such a great shot. You expect, I suppose, a fullback within a Man City team to probably not find his way as a near post take on sort of player and to not score such a great chance, but he did, right? So it shows you that Guardiola actually gives you a lot of options, and he's also someone who's so composed on the ball and playing so advanced that he as I said, at times reminds me of what Zinchenko does when he joins this Arsenal team. He does take a lot of the ball, he does command a lot of ball, and he does find himself in great attacking positions, even within the Nottingham Forest match. Even though, let's say, Man City conceded a lot of chances, you could see on the flip side, from the attacking point of view, Guardiola actually had a great chance to maybe get an assist with a cutback pass after Grealish laid him on a ball, and that was when he was in the final third. He also had another opportunity, I believe, in the second half, where he was once again that almost striker-like player with an opportunity to actually score another header within that game. So just really happy with the asset there. With Saliba, of course, a little bit of a downgrade compared to Ben White, but he is still someone who hopefully, with how good Arsenal have been in set pieces, Arsenal, I think, so far are one of the top 3 set piece leagues in the team. That's Everton included as well. Your Tarkowskis and your Branthwaites of the world. Hopefully with Saliba and Gabriel, we finally get to have some of these dividends versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth have not necessarily been an awful defensive team, but this is just another great chance to play Arsenal defense. They have the highest clean sheet odds of this week, I believe, after Man City. So, you can't really go wrong with it. As far as the midfield this week, just moving on over there, once again, we have a very strong full house. And I'm actually going to feature Saka, Foden, Gordon, and Palmer. And a lot of people are going to be asking, who's benched here, right? Because very clearly I'm playing a 3-4-3. And I have decided so far, at least, to go on a Son bench. In my opinion, it's between Son and Gordon. Some people will get a little bit upset when I show my forwards. But in reality, I think these are the two away players within my team, right? When it comes to the midfield. Gordon obviously has a brilliant fixture when it comes to Burnley away. I actually did a little bit of, looking into and finding with the Newcastle's away and home stats in terms of their expected goals, as well as Gordon. So what we've obviously had a look at this week was how bad this Newcastle attack has been away from home versus at home per game this season. And the drop-off is actually catastrophic in the sense that really this Newcastle team are close to 50%, or actually close to 100% better compared to their away form at home. So it just shows you how much of a drastic drop-off is. And you really could call it the St. James Park buff. Not only does it really apply to Gordon, but just really this Newcastle team as a whole, it also reflects the same in their defense. So that's something to think about, right? That's not great for Gordon, but I think that the big bonus for Gordon recently is that he's someone who has taken up set pieces. In Trippier's absence, which I think is going to still be prevalent in Game Week 36, we still see news actually that Trippier is, I think, warm weather training in Dubai. So that's a big sort of pro there, and Gordon's definitely going to be a huge add when you look at Burnley being also a very, very bad set piece defense team. So I kind of like the differential here with Gordon over Son. I also think that Gordon's just going to be less owned compared to Son. So in terms of my opportunities to take risks here, I don't really mind benching Son this game week, even though a lot of people are going to say, target this awful Liverpool team that have fallen off the map recently. I think it's close, and I think it's between Gordon and Son for me. With Son, he has the usual intangibles, right? Penalties. He is a focal point of the offense, although it might change as well with Richarlison coming into the team. Some people also argue that Son, stylistically maybe plays better on the left. I don't think it's necessarily conclusive either way. I think I've watched multiple games this season where, I'm happy to have Son in a central forward position because he still usually gets one big chance per game. He's not necessarily active on the ball, but that doesn't really matter in terms of FPL if you get, consistently good big chances within the game. And sometimes that feels like more so the case when he plays center forward. There are, of course, games where, let's say, when he's playing left wing, that he plays a lot better. And I think, one of the Bournemouth games is in my memory where he had a lot of counterattacks with Richarlison, created a lot of chances with the interplay there. And Richarlison coming back into the team is also quite huge. Palmer for me just has a brilliant fixture, Saka as well. So there's no real discussion about them, but they of course could be captaincy options, along with Foden too, who hopefully should be coming back from his illness and injury. We don't know necessarily whether Foden, I think, is going to feature for this game. I think if there's ever so, the chance that maybe Foden has been extremely ill, if he's really struggling to make this Wolves game, then of course it's an easy decision for me to just play Son over him if I'm expecting that Foden's going to come off the bench. But I really do think Foden should start, hopefully after what should be a week of rest, and we can move on from there. In terms of the forwards this week, I will be playing Isak, Jackson, and Haaland. A lot of people are going to be asking, you've got Gordon and Son in your team, why are you starting Jackson? And ultimately, I think I have to say that West Ham ultimately have been an awful team, right? An awful defensive team more so. I think in terms of points on the board, they've done incredible this season. You can't really complain about how well West Ham have done in the Premier League. To be a top half team and to have done so well with Bowen, of course, having a brilliant season. But from the context of their defense and also just Chelsea being a really good home team as well, I just have no worries about playing Jackson. I think he's going to get plenty of chances versus a bottom team. The home and away factor is very significant for me. The quality of the team that he's facing is also very significant. So the way I see it, this is a good opportunity for me to play Jackson. And as I said, I think a lot of people are also going to be tempted to bench Jackson after even wildcarding into Jackson. And for me, when I look at Jackson's fixtures this season, even starting from the wildcard for people who brought him in, this is his best game of the season, from game week 35 to game week 38. So the way I see it, I'm definitely going to play Jackson, and I'll take the punt there, even though a lot of people are not going to like it. And that's it. That's my thoughts on Jackson. With Isak and Haaland, I think obviously they're a lot easier to stomach as options. And my captaincy right now is sitting on Haaland. I think right now you have to say that this Wolves team look like they're in absolute tatter still. Very easily attackable. Hope this City team, of course, is going back to what really should be full strength. Couple illnesses last time out with Nottingham Forest, but all these players should be back. De Bruyne is back as well, which we tend to say hopefully helps the overall ceiling of this team. And specifically, I think even from the people who love the eye test, De Bruyne is a huge proponent, I believe, of Haaland goals. So ultimately, yeah, this is a chance for me to go Haaland captaincy. Vice captaincy is going to be sitting on Palmer for now. So many good options this week in terms of captaincy. I think there's going to be a lot of people who still go for a differential captaincy, and maybe it will work out. I'm probably not going to take that sort of risk, in my opinion, although I completely recognize that, as I said, Palmer and Saka have great games. Even Foden, of course, if you think he obviously has been a better attacking player for City, arguably, than Haaland even this season. So you can take your pick between all these sorts of players. And ultimately, I'm very happy with the team this week. On the bench order, we've got Vicario, Son, Gusto, and Pau. Gusto, unfortunately, it still seems like he's not ready to play, so I haven't really talked about him in defense. Pau is definitely just going to be escorted out of my team as swiftly as possible in Game Week 37, and we'll talk about whether we go for Trippier and Porro next week, but I don't think it's really worth opening our eyes towards Trippier unless he somehow finds his way miraculously onto the bench for Game Week 36, but I'm hopeful and a little bit optimistic because it seems like that his injury return is, around the bend. So we'll see what happens there. Anyways, take care, you guys, and hope to see you guys soon. Have a lovely week and goodbye.